The tension turns inward, drawing Malachi toward the lakefront, and pulling the spiritual and horror elements closer together. The pacing will tighten, the imagery definitely intensifies, and the emotional stakes rise toward this first arc's midpoint. Chapter 4, The Lake Remembers You. Malachi didn't go to work. He didn't check his messages, didn't answer the missed calls buzzing through his phone, didn't look at the clock as the sun dragged itself overhead. Time had no weight today. The only thing that mattered was the pull, a familiar, heavy tug toward the lakefront that settled into his chest like a cold stone. Cariel's words echoed with every step he took, each one harder than the last, as though the city itself were resisting his journey. The closer he moved toward the east, the more the air thickened, pressing against him like invisible hands urging him to turn back. But Malachi knew he couldn't. Not anymore. Something in him had shifted. The creature's presence in the waking world was a line crossed that could never be uncrossed. And if Cariel had spoken truth, and Malachi felt deep in his bones that he had, then the only way forward was through the memory he had spent years burying beneath fear, shame, and silence. He reached the lakefront just as the sky dimmed under a blanket of low, fast-moving clouds. The water churned with a restless energy that didn't match the calm breeze brushing against his face. Waves slapped against the rocks with a rhythmic, almost angry cadence, like fists pounding a locked door. Malachi stood at the edge of the pier, hands trembling at his sides, breath fogging in the cold air. The lake had always held a strange power over him, a place that was both sanctuary and scar. He had come here as a boy seeking quiet, but the quiet had turned on him one night, the night that had carved a wound deep enough to grow a creature. He kneeled at the edge, watching the water swirl below. Every ripple felt like an eye-opening. Every wave sounded like a whisper rising from the deep. His reflection trembled on the surface, fragmented by motion. A younger version of himself seemed to stare back through the blur, the boy he once was, frightened, confused, alone. "Do not look away," Cariel said from behind him. Malachi turned to find the dream guide standing on the pier, his coat unmoving despite the wind. His presence softened the air, dimming the heaviness, but only slightly. Malachi looked back at the water, throat tight. "I remember this place," he whispered. "I just don't remember what happened." "That is because you buried the memory," Cariel replied, stepping closer. "But burying is not the same as healing. Darkness grows best in forgotten soil." Malachi closed his eyes, trying to reach through the fog in his mind. He could feel the edges of the memory now, sharp and cold. The shape of it pressed against his ribs like a blunt blade. "I was 16, he murmured. "I came here after everything started falling apart at home. I just needed somewhere to breathe." Cariel nodded slowly. "And something found you." Malachi flinched. The wind shifted violently, sending a cold spray across the pier. The lake darkened, ripples tightening into spirals. He could feel the memory rising now, rising like something from deep water. The hum he'd heard under the L tracks began again, vibrating through the planks beneath his feet, traveling up his legs, crawling into his bones. Images flashed through his mind, quick and disjointed. A shadow moving behind him. A voice whispering his name. The sickening weight of betrayal. The brittle crack of something inside him breaking. The night he had cried alone under the sodium streetlights, wishing for strength, wishing for justice, wishing for a version of himself unscarred by fear. And in that moment, Cariel said softly, "Your pain took shape. Your anger sharpened into form. Your loneliness opened a door you did not know existed. You did not summon the creature, it was born from you." The lake surged, a swell rising higher than the one before. The wind howled, and Malachi staggered back from the edge as a dark shape moved beneath the water, circling slowly. His heart pounded against his ribs. "It's here," he whispered. "It's underneath." Cariel's expression hardened, eyes glowing like embers. "It has always been here. Bound to the place you broke." But you must not run this time. Malachi's breath came fast, uneven. The shadow in the water grew larger, its edges stitching together into distinct shapes, long arms, a warped torso, a head tilting in that same unsettling angle. Its body wavered like fabric underwater, pieces shifting and reassembling with every movement. Malachi stumbled backward as the creature's face rose toward the surface, the mosaic of blurred features flickering like static. The surface broke. A long, stitched hand emerged, dripping lakewater and trembling with unnatural life. It slapped against the pier, fingers splayed, grasping for purchase. Malachi froze, terror locking his spine. The creature pulled itself upward, water cascading from its patchwork form as it stood, towering, silently breathing without lungs. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, were empty shapes stitched from memory, dark and endless. It took one slow step toward him, water puddling around its feet. The letters on its chest glowed faintly through the seams. M and A. 2 letters so far. 2 tethers. Malachi couldn't move. The creature raised its head, studying him with painful familiarity, and spoke without opening its mouth. You left me here. Malachi's knees nearly buckled. The voice wasn't monstrous. It wasn't distorted. It was his own, 16 years old, trembling, broken. Kariel moved between them, light gathering in his palms, but Malachi reached out and grabbed the dream guide's coat. No, he gasped. Let me hear it. Kariel paused, the glow in his hands dimming. The creature stepped closer, the seams in its skin tightening, pulling its face into a grotesque attempt at expression. You abandoned me, it whispered. You walked away. You left me drowning in the place where you prayed someone would save you. Malachi felt his heart cracking open. I didn't know, he said, voice shaking. I didn't know what I created. The creature tilted its head further, water dripping from its jaw. Then remember, it said. And suddenly the world dissolved. The lake, the pier, the sky, all torn away in a violent rush of sound and darkness. Malachi felt himself falling, spiraling downward into the memory he had run from for half his life. And once he landed there, he would have to face the moment everything inside him shattered. The moment the creature was born.